Hey, what's going on? Thanks for coming back and checking out another episode of the Going Yard podcast. Before we get on with this episode, I want to give a little love to one of our partners. And this week we're going to talk about the Backspin Tee. This is actually a new one we have on our site. It's a part of our performance tools that we have on our website. The Backspin Tee is designed to change the way a hitter looks at the baseball. It's developed by professional coaching award-winning inventors. We had Taylor on this show way back when we first started. And the Backspin Tee forces you to focus on the middle and bottom half of the baseball. The middle and bottom half of the baseball is the part that professional pitchers don't want you to hit, because hitting that part of the baseball means backspin, which equals distance, and distance creates champions.
Definitely. I've been a believer in this tool from the beginning. Taylor was, and the Backspin Tee was the reason we kind of got into the product demo side of this podcast and bringing people on. This thing is legit. I use it with my hitters every time we hit, every time we warm up for a game. 100% on board. Whether you believe in launch angle or not, the attack angle that this tee allows you to get is by far none other available anywhere else. Honestly, this thing is a must-have if you care about it getting your hitters better.
Yeah, just go to backspintee.com, enter the promo code GYP10, and you will save 10% off at checkout. Can't beat that.
Can't beat it. Let's dive into this episode, Dan.
Yeah, so today we talked to Daniel Aleman, and we had a great conversation with him. His story starts out with some adversity from high school into college. He was a redshirt freshman. He talks about how those moments really helped develop him into who he is today. And I love it. We got to talk about a lot of mindset, which I really wasn't expecting to talk about mindset as much as we did, and I'm glad we did. We dove into that. How to coach certain kids, looking for those coachable kids, kids that have the coachability, and also he gave his take on launch angle, which is fantastic. He called it poetry in motion, and the way that he explains it to kids, he doesn't get into the jargon. He just tries to put their body in the proper position to create the perfect movement, which is that poetry in motion. So it was just a great episode with this guy.
It was a lot of fun. I mean, honestly, a couple of times. I talk about I love what he's saying, what he's doing. It's about his players. It's about getting them better. It's about giving them more opportunity, helping them succeed more than he ever did, which I think is fantastic. And he just goes on. I love his perspective and what he's doing. And I wish more coaches had his thought and mindset when working with young athletes, specifically in baseball or even in softball for us doing this podcast. But I wish more people thought and acted the way this guy does.
I love it because he talks about just making a hitter dangerous. And I love that. And when his Instagram, if you just search for Deadly Hitting, you'll see him on there, Daniel Deadly Hitting. And it's so great. I love the mindset that he teaches. And I think you will enjoy this episode. Hey, Daniel, thanks for joining us, man.
Awesome, man. Thanks for having me on.
Yeah, man. We're looking forward to this one.
Yeah, I'm excited. I've been listening to you guys for a while, and jump on some of your podcasts, some of the guys you talked to, and some of the ladies you talked to as well. That seems always pretty excited when you ask me to do this. So I'm pretty excited to see what's going to happen from here.
Yeah, Daniel, it's Tyler. Appreciate you taking time to do this. We know you're busy and you got a lot going on with the things you're doing with a lot of the athletes you're working with. Let's just jump right back in, though, and go back to kind of a little bit about your baseball story and growing up playing high school and what that was like.
Okay, yeah. What's crazy is high school baseball. There's a lot of ups and downs, a lot of adversity that I had to go through, which I don't know if you guys follow me well enough, or if you guys know me, that really I think it's a lot of that has really created who I am today and built what I've built today and makes me who I am. So in high school, I started off as a C teamer, freshman year. Started off on the C team. Did really well, but it just wasn't. Obviously, I wasn't at the peak level that I needed to be on JV or on the varsity level. So that didn't bother me at all. Didn't really do anything for me, just other than the fact that I needed to show out. I needed to work hard and get up to speed with everybody else, whether it was lifting, playing, fielding, all that good stuff. So I started off on the C team. Next year, I made JV varsity. My sophomore year was on the JV varsity team. Played both. Played on both sides. And then by my junior and senior year, I finally was on the varsity. And even then, there was a lot of ups and downs there. Had to play through a lot of adversity, injuries, and also as well as I was battling a lot for playing time. It was crazy to think about though. I don't know if it's just the mental side or just kind of being put in a bad spot, bad timing, that it was like school ball would happen. And then as soon as summer ball hit, I was the main dude and I would go off in the summertime. I think there's something about summer ball that just relaxes baseball players. Right. They don't have to worry about the school. They don't have to worry about, their school coaches needing to impress people to get that playing time. That you play summer ball, you ball out, you have fun. And it's just something about, I think that the atmosphere is different. And man, that's kind of how I ended up getting into college and getting recruited, was not just because I played in high school ball and did well, but because summer ball really was a time for me to shine, and really allowed me to continue my career.
Now, did you grow up in Wichita?
I did. I've lived here all my life.
Well, before we go into the college part of it, what's the scene like? I don't think we've ever talked to anybody from Wichita before. So what's the baseball scene like in that area? Is it? I know you said summer ball, but is it a lot of travel ball? Is it a pretty competitive league out your way, or how's that out there?
Yeah. So during my time, I think the competitive ball was still pretty good. It was really good. It's gotten better now, but a lot of it is travel ball. Nowadays, I think, but during my time, the travel ball was a little bit here and there, maybe headed out to Oklahoma or headed down to Oklahoma, sometimes Texas. A lot of times was in Kansas City or Topeka, and here in Kansas. And that's kind of how you would get noticed. There'd be certain tournaments that were showcases, and those are the ones where there's a lot of college people looking out. And some of those games, some of those tournaments would help you, especially if you were a high school team, would help you get to an NBC showcase or an NBC World Series type game. And that's when you're playing actual guys who are probably in college right then and there. And if you won a specific tournament, that would get you into that league, at least for the tournament being. So I would say that the summer ball was not bad, and the high school ball is not bad, but our weather is ridiculous. It's either really hot, really cold, really rainy, really snowy. It's all over the place. So our season starts in February, March, and it's kind of hit and miss till all the way about April, and then May comes around. So the weather's not like a Florida or Texas or anything like that where we can play year round. It's a indoor, outdoor type thing. So it's a litup tough, but you deal with it, you battle through with it, and you play where you can play. And man, it ended up being not bad, but I think now, saying that and knowing that and kind of knowing what, kind of doing what I do now, my goal is to kind of take that niche, because we're not a well-known city for baseball. Our city is mostly a football/basketball city. Yeah. I'm trying to do my best to make baseball a thing here, make it more well-known, make it stand out, get guys that come from Wichita, Kansas that go to D1, or come from Wichita, Kansas and make it to get drafted and, out of high school or go to college and then get drafted. That's the end goal, I think, too, for me nowadays. I'm trying to get my guys and girls to really come from Wichita and make a name here and make a name elsewhere, bringing the hometown with them.
So, who did you root for growing up? Was it the Cardinals out there, or who was your team out in the Midwest? Because I know it's a little broken up a little bit out there. Or were you the Royals? I mean, who was it? I mean, the Royals, I guess, probably weren't very good for a while. So, kind of like us being Orioles fans. But so who'd you root for growing up out there?
I would say it was, for me, man, growing up was the Chicago Cubs. I was a big Cubs fan as a little kid. Gotcha. I really don't know how that became about. I just remember being 6, 7 years old, and Sammy Sosa was my favorite baseball player. Sammy Sosa and Mark McGwire era, that was something that I watched a lot of and really got into. And then I think my first baseball game that I ever got to go to, which sucked because I ended up getting rained out, so I missed most of the game. But we got to go to Wrigley Field. My parents took me when I was a really little kid, took me to Wrigley Field. I got to see Sammy Sosa. I got to see him hit on the field, take fly balls and play catch and do all that stuff. And then I think maybe an inning or two into the game, the damn thing rained out, and that was it. That was the end of it, and that was the end of my Chicago story. But I think since then, Chicago Cubs have been my team, and Sammy Sosa and, all the guys after, when they got close to the World Series, then they messed up. You know what's crazy? I didn't even go to school the next day when they lost to the Florida Marlins.
I wouldn't have gone to school probably for the rest of the year.
We had the same thing happen with Jeffrey Mayer, so I mean it was kind of the same problem.
Yeah, we had the same issue in the 90s. What's funny is you mentioned about being a Cubs fan. I remember watching the movie Rookie of the Year. And I thought, in my head, this is 1992, 1993, so I'm in second, third grade, somewhere around there. In my head, I'm thinking, wow, this could really happen. I could be 12 years old and play for the Cubs in the starting rotation. This is amazing. So I thought that was funny you brought that up.
Now, and I only asked because I wanted to find out who you kind of emulated your game after growing up and playing. Like, who did you model your game after?
So since I was a middle infielder, my modeling my game, which is kind of, you say that at the Chicago, I still love the Chicago Cubs, and I will always be, Chicago Cubs fan to the end. But when it came to that, trying to model my game, it was really a mix and match of different people, because it's kind of how I do now too. I just love watching certain players. Cubs will always be my number one, but then there's certain teams I also like to watch because of certain players. I like to watch how they play, how they run the bases, how they field the ball, how they hit. Really just a mindset between coaches, different managers. I really like to kind of watch how the game goes. But one of the guys I really emulated from high school on to college was Brandon Phillips. He was my favorite second baseman in high school and through college, and I really try to emulate his swag, his looseness, his fun, how he just loved playing the game, and how he kind of just did his thing. Really didn't have no care in the world and just did his thing. So Brandon Phillips was my guy.
Now, I'll tell you bring that up because I think it's a fantastic point about what's going on in the game. And you look at like Javi Baez and you look at Alex Bregman, and I mean, the list kind of goes on with some guys. And I think that, when we grew up, we kind of had Ken Griffey Jr. and there was a few guys that had some fun, but most of them were like business, straight and narrow. I think kids growing up today have so many guys, like even take like Yadi Molina and, just go through Mookie Betts, anybody. I mean, I could go down the list of them. And there's so many guys that are having so much flair and so much fun. I think the game's never been more exciting than it is now. If you're a 10, 12, 14-year-old kid, you got so many great guys to look up to that are so much fun on the field. And you can realize that you can be good and have fun at the same time.
Oh, 100%, man. I 100% agree with you. I think that was a great point, because in my time, growing up as a kid, the only reason why I love Sammy Sosa was because he was awesome to watch. He had his little home run. When he hit a home run, he did his 2 hops. He did his, kiss the fingers, point to the camera. That was like my emotion. That was like my swag. That was like, dude, I love this guy. He loves the game so much. Look at the stuff he does. I would practice that, the 2 hops in my living room. I would kiss my fingers, point to the camera in between, in my games when I was a kid. And then like nowadays, like you said, Javi Baez, and because he's a Cub, it makes it even better. But one of my favorite players to watch right now, him, and then Stroman as a pitcher. I love Stroman, Marcus Stroman. Yeah. He has this emotion about him that it's like, yo, if you're a pitcher, you want to be this guy, and if you're a hitter, you don't want anything to do with him, because this dude is going to light you up, and when he lights you up, he's going to make you feel it too.
Right. Well, hey, let's talk about a little bit of your college experience as well. Can you talk about that? How the drafting experience, and how you got picked up there, and then also some of the challenges you faced there, and the differences going from high school to college.
So challenges with, I would say from high school to college was the adjustment, I would say the workouts, and the going from an 18-year-old kid out of high school to trying to become, 18, 19-year-old, essentially like a man, and trying to, body up with a lot of other guys who've been there for 4 or 5 years, and, have that experience, and you want to learn from them. You kind of want to grab a mentor. You want to grab a guy who's been there and done that, and you want to learn and see what is it that you need to do to make it at this level. And I went straight out of high school to a D2 college here in Wichita. It was definitely not my first choice, but I did have this terrible misconception. I think there was a big misconception with baseball at the time, and at least during my time, was that if you went JUCO, you weren't really anything. You didn't have the talent to go anywhere. And I think that's kind of something that these guys need to know nowadays, is that going from high school to JUCO doesn't mean nothing. It's a cheap way for you to get your schooling done. A lot of times if you go JUCO, coaches will pay for you because obviously they expect you to play right out of high school. You're going to play, you're going to develop, you're going to grow, you're going to get stronger, you're going to get faster. And you're also going to build an intense mindset because there's a lot of JUCO guys I played with. These guys were freaking animals. Their mind was just crazy. We could have done the worst workout ever in the history of workouts, and it wouldn't have bothered them because these guys coming out of JUCO just had this just intense mindset. So one of those misconceptions is I think we need to, as coaches and as baseball players too, is we need to understand coming from high school to college, JUCO is not a bad thing. Yeah, it's not something that's not the first idea, it's not the first pick, but if you can go that route, you get everything paid for, and you have the ability to play the baseball game, not just sit on the bench and wait 2 years so they think you've developed enough, then play you, then that's where you need to go. You need to go where you're going to play, when you're going to start, and how you're going to build the ability to learn on the during the game, learn from your mistakes, learn on the go, and grow. And that's how you really become that all around baseball player. So I didn't go JUCO. I went D2. And again, even that doesn't matter. I went and I played baseball. So I got a scholarship to go play college baseball. Ended up redshirting my freshman year. That was a big kind of like, punch. I don't even know how to say it, punch in the throat, punch in the gut, because it kind of made me feel terrible thinking, I'm coming in, I'm ready to play. I got injured a couple times, had some bad luck, and then they kind of put me behind some of these other guys, and I did to myself. I think it was just the mindset there was nervous and scared first year, and now on top of getting injured, it ended up being able to having to redshirt. But that actually made things a lot better because it calmed me down during practices. Workouts were really good, and by the time I knew it, sophomore year came around, and I was prepared to start. So it was a good thing. So there had a lot of ups and downs, a lot of adversity there in my college career. And even into my very last year, there was just a lot of things I had to battle through, man. A lot of things to learn from, and take it with me all the way into my life now.
Now let's stay on that path, because I love what you're saying, because there is no wrong path for anybody. For anybody out there who's listening to this, there is no wrong path. You got to take the path that fits your life, that fits your academics, that fits all in these little boxes. You can't just get yourself stuck on D1 or bust. There's no right or wrong path to get to where you want to get to. If you're a good player, you're going to stand out no matter where you go if you put the work and time in. So, and then you just said you had 100%. To battle through some adversities and some difficulties, and you carry them through your life. What's something the game taught you from high school to college that you use in your everyday life? Obviously, sounds like your communication skills, maybe team player stuff. What are some of those things that you're still using every day in your life, with work, with the players you're working with, in your house, all those things?
Yeah, so I would say failure, man. That's one of the biggest things, failure and the ability to handle failure the correct way. One of the things I tell my players, and I tell a lot of my athletes, I tell them, dude, when you fail, and especially when you fail big, and you're going to fail big, and you're going to fail a lot in this game, softball, baseball, both sports, you're going to fail. That how you handle that failure says a lot about you. If you handle it the wrong way, coaches, people, employers, they will see that, and they will notice this person cannot handle failure correctly. That says a lot about them. When things are really down, how do you handle that? If you handle it wrong, that's not good. You put yourself in an even worse situation to make like a domino effect happen in your life. If you take those failures and you take the adversity and you take the problems that you have, and you're able to, say, screw it, I'm gonna keep going. I'm gonna do even more. I'm gonna make sure that whatever I failed here, this doesn't happen again, or I'm gonna do the work necessary to really mitigate that failure to happen again. So if you can get up, stand up, get up off your ass, and after you fail, and really continue and grind through it, that's when your personality and who you are really shows, and that's what coaches love to see. When they push you and they push you hard and they see you fail, they want to know, how are you going to come out of that? Because that will carry into your life. It carries into my career nowadays. My end goal was to become a professional baseball player. It didn't, the MLB, be that Javi Baez, it didn't come to fruition. So if you think about that, that is the biggest failure I have occurred in my life, right? Because as a ball player, softball player, become a professional softball player, become a professional baseball player, that is our end goal as college athletes. That is what we want to be as soon as we're done with college. If you fail at that, if you don't make that, you essentially just failed the biggest dream of your life. You know what I mean? So to be able to get back from that after you're done, after you didn't hit your dream, what are you going to do? Are you going to sulk? Are you going to sit at home? Or are you going to get after it, take that same intensity that you had in the game, same intensity that you had as an athlete, and now add it to your life? And once you add that to your life, dude, things are going to happen. Things are going to get crazy. You're going to build a business. You're going to have a good career. You're going to, overcome it. You're going to become a supervisor. You're going to become a CEO. Who knows? And that's kind of like where I am now. In my career, I've already been promoted in my normal job. I have two businesses I run on the side, and I've used everything that I've learned from failure, from success, from hard work ethic, from that mindset of being able to train my mind to become stronger as a person. That's all carried on to my life.
Well said, my friend. Well said. Can you tell us how you got into coaching? Was that directly right after college, or is that something that took a couple years to catch on?
It took a couple years. Honestly, I think after I was done, I kind of told myself, man, I really just don't want nothing to do with baseball anymore. In a sense, I was kind of upset with myself because I didn't succeed. I didn't meet my end goal. So I was kind of upset with what happened. So I was like, you know what? I really just want to take a break from baseball. My body's tired. I want nothing to do with it. So I would say I probably took like a year and a half off. And then I got asked to do some coaching. And I said, you know what, the heck with it. What's the worst that can happen? I'll get back into the game, share my knowledge, and really get this, hopefully shed some light on some of my issues that I've had and failures that I've gone through and things that I've learned. And hopefully I can continue to grow as a coach, and then I can continue to grow somebody else and see how that goes. And when I got into it, man, I actually started loving it, and I realized the impact I had the impact and the effect I could have on another high school athlete and give them the knowledge that I have gained throughout all these years to hopefully get them into a position that they'll do better than I did. They'll go past what I did. They'll be able to carry on further than I went, and then in return, that'll be one. It's been the best feelings in the world to even be able to give somebody that opportunity. So that's kind of where I got to now, and I've kind of stayed in that position to continue coaching and continue giving lessons, private lessons, group sessions, and really sharing my knowledge of the game.
You know what I absolutely love what I just heard, because it kind of scares the hell out of me sometimes with guys, is when it's all about them, and you just kind of talked all about your players and the impact that you have on their lives, and not so much about what can you get out of it and what all of that. It's about what can you give them and how can I help them, and that's important, because I think a lot of these coaches out there these days are trophy hunting. They're not putting kids in good situations. They're not putting the kids' health first as opposed to their development. And I think more coaches need to hear that, honestly, because at the end of the day, all them trophies just end up in somebody's basement. Nobody cares about them, honestly. So, when you start putting your players first and their dreams and their goals ahead of the ones that you think you need to have for yourself, that's where good things come from, I think.
100%. Definitely agree.
So what are some of the things you're seeing with some of the players you're working with? What are some of the flaws that you're seeing from a young age that you think kids, parents, coaches should spend a little bit more time on with their kids in the backyard before they get to maybe that 12, 13, 14-year-old age and, things start to click and opportunities start to become available to some kids?
I would say it wouldn't be so much as the coach. I would say a little bit of coachability and a little bit of the mentality kids have nowadays. It's not so much the actual skill set, because that can be grown, that can be built, that can be taught. It's the mindset. It's the idea they have in their heads that everything should be given to them. They deserve this. They should have this, and that hard work really isn't the first thing that comes to their mind. I've seen a lot of that with a lot of kids I've worked with. And what's crazy is I've actually, with lessons and with workouts and with coaching, I get paid, obviously. That's something that occurs. It's not, I don't do it for the money because I have my own job. I could really do without it, but it's crazy that I have actually turned people away because their kid comes in. I kind of get a little feel for them. I try to coach. I try and talk with them. I talk mindset. I talk thinking, I talk hitting, fielding. I really try and kind of give a little bit of how I lived my life and what I've done to really make myself successful. And I want to kind of spread that dust on them too. And some kids just don't want nothing to do with it. They just like what, oh man, I already know this, or that's not for me, or you can just tell that their mindset isn't to grind out and to work hard and to really get that sweat in. It's just like, oh, I'm here and that's it. I'm going to get this in and then I'm still going to go play. They just don't care. So I turn people away and say, you know what? I think we're going to cut the session a little short. I tell the parents, talk to the parents a little bit, let them know, hey, go ahead, take your money back. There's no big deal. Don't worry about it too much. I just feel like your son or your daughter or whatever, this isn't for them. I think you really need to sit down with them and figure out, if this is something they want to do, if this is something that they're passionate about, and if they're willing to work hard for it. Because honestly, they're wasting your money. You're wasting your time. He's wasting his time. And on top of that, you're wasting my time when I could be giving this knowledge to a lot of other kids who, would pay hundreds of thousands of dollars just to be able to experience something that your kid is experiencing. So yeah, I think that's something that the generation nowadays is really struggling with, is that there's a lot of I deserve this, I deserve that. That there's and sometimes I have to honestly say, man, that I think that has to start with the parents. What are they doing to allow their kids to have this mindset? What is going on? What's happening in the household? What can be changed so that the kids understand hard work and that nothing's going to be given to you? Because as soon as you get into high school, coaches will notice that and you won't play. College, they won't even take you. You can just forget about that. And then if you get into the real world, you still have that mindset, you're screwed.
Right. Well, and you can see it at such an early age. I mean, I know it's not, you have 6, 7-year-olds playing baseball. It's obviously they're not 100% committed yet because they don't really know what they want to do with their life. They're just playing because this is what they do in the spring, But you can see that with some of the players, though. I mean, I can even see that, as young as 6 and 7 years old, you could tell, like, all right, this is a coachable kid. This is a kid that's going to be able to develop these skills because he's willing to listen, and then when he listens, he actually applies what you just told him. And not everyone's like that. But I feel like that's such an important thing you brought up because, man, you see it every day. You see it on TV. You see it just social media. I mean, it's almost, it's gross.
It's everywhere. It's in your face all the time.
It is.
Honestly, I mean, that was a great sign that I saw years ago. It said, uncoachable kids become unemployed adults. And I think that kind of hits the truth, honestly, at some point, because we all know that person, honestly.
Yep, 100%. Yeah, and I agree. I mean, if you think about it, like, if you get into the real world and you start working and you're still uncoachable, or they can't teach you, and you don't have that culture that fits for that company, and you don't have that mindset or that work ethic to be able to, bring to the table what they need, and you just don't really care, how the heck are you going to get employed? How do you think you're going to stay there?
Right.
It's not going to work. It's not going to happen.
Nice. Well, hey, man, you focus mainly on hitting, and I need to know your thought process on this. We're kind of switching directions a little bit here before we get talking about deadly hitting. Launch angle, big debate going on over the last couple years. Couple professional players saying that it's something you don't want to do, stay away from. But then when you watch them in slow motion, they're doing it. They're just calling it something different. Feel versus what they're actually doing. What is your stance on this? And as a coach, is it something you even worry about? Tell us your thoughts on it.
Yeah, I say I worry about it, but in a different manner. Obviously, I'm not. I try to stay away from a lot of weird lingo and jargon and kind of weird things that coaches can say, because I hear it even when I'm working out with my kids. You'll have other coaches working and they say launch angle this or this and that, and then like, I guarantee you I don't even know what you're saying. So I promise you your kids don't know what you're saying. So when it comes to launch angle, quote unquote launch angle, what I really talk about to get that launch angle, I talk about body work, body movements. What are we going to accomplish with our body that can get us into the correct position to make sure when we make contact with the ball, we are able to, quote unquote, hit that correct launch angle. So it's really I'm not trying to focus on launch angle specifically, but I focus on the body. I focus on our body movements. I focus on how we start our swing, how we end our swing, and what each body part is doing to accomplish what, that perfect, launch angle. There's nothing going to be perfect about it, but we want to be able to give our hitters the most, opportune time and opportune moment to create the most powerful swing, strong, hard line drives, balls that just continue to continue to rise. And, if they hit a home run, they hit a home run. If they hit the wall, they hit the wall. As long as we hit hard line drives, gap to gap, that's my idea, really.
That's the one thing I wish more people would just talk about is, that bat speed, generating hard contact. Hard contact is what young kids need to learn, is to understand what it feels like to connect with a baseball and be offensive to a baseball. I see so many young kids or even young girls, my daughter does it once in a while, they get defensive in the batter's box. It's called offense. Like, you should be aggressive going after a baseball. Like, you should give it full attention with max effort to the point where then it becomes effortless after time. And I love what you're saying. It doesn't need to be about this cue or that cue. It's about gap to gap, driving the ball, hitting it hard.
Correct. Yep. I agree with you, man. I think if we can get them to understand that mindset that, we want you to swing it hard, but there's got to be a little bit of poetry to it, right? If you watch Javi Baez, it's crazy how much he has grown as a professional hitter. When he first came in, dude had like 50, 60 Ks in like the first, 2 months of his career. Yeah. 2 months of his professional career had like 40, 50 Ks. And then all of a sudden the next year it's less. And then he's hitting more home runs. He's hitting more line drives. Then this year, I don't know if you've noticed, but his opposite, he's always had a real good opposite field hitting ability, but it's like 10 times more. It's effortless. So his swing went from like extremely violent with a little hard, it's like kind of uncontrollable violent swing, to now his swing is still extremely violent like it's always been, but he's been able to now almost perfect it to where it's violent, it's strong, it's powerful. He swings the crap out of it, but it's smooth, it's in control. There's a lot of poetry and emotion, and he makes things happen now. And that's kind of like what I try and talk to about my hitters. A lot of kids, when they're swinging, they swing it hard, but they swing it out of control. If you're out of control and you're trying to swing it hard, that's when the body can't do its thing. The body can't get to that launch angle. The body can't get to the position it needs to be in for you to make that opportune, that perfect hit and that hard hit, that gap-to-gap type power, hitting the opposite field, being able to hit the ball out front. And, if you pull, but you still want to be able to give it that 100% swing. So maybe you get lucky and you just drive one out of the ballpark. You know what I'm saying? So it's one of those where you make contact and you hit it so damn hard that it's like, man, I barely even touched it. Didn't even feel like it hit my bat.
Yeah, you don't even feel it at some point, you know what I mean? So let's just dive right into that. Let's talk to everybody about what you are doing with Deadly Hitting and what it's all about. I know we talked a little, you brought a couple cues up and a couple things that you're doing. What exactly is Deadly Hitting and the kids that you're working with, the ages, and, some of the stuff you're doing?
So Deadly Hitting, man, it's kind of it's deadly, it's dangerous. That's kind of my goal, is to create dangerous hitters, build that, not only be dangerous at the plate, be dangerous off the field as well, with I know I've talked a lot about it in this podcast, that I'm talking mindset. I'm talking, the ability to hit the ball hard. But I think it all begins with the mind, the right mindset. And then from there, if you can create confidence in the hitter and you can create the ability and coach, they're coachable, then everything else is going to follow. So as Deadly Hitting, I like to work with kids who are, like I said, coachable, wanting to work, wanting to become deadly. That's the end goal. But then I also want them to be able to take what they're learning in the cage and take it onto the field in a game, and then also take it off the field into their life. So that way, not only are they a confident, dangerous hitter, but now they're a confident, dangerous person in a sense. Not dangerous as in, going to go kill somebody, but dangerous in a sense that if they become, and when they're in high school and they're in college and now they become employed, that they're going to be dangerous at their work. They're going to be one that, like, oh man, people want to be around this person. When they enter the room, everybody wants to be around them. When they're working with the community, people want to work with this person. That's the goal. We want to create these athletes that are not just great athletes, but all around great people. And that's kind of what I'm bringing to the table with Deadly Hitting, and hoping to build these. I have guys and girls from ages 10 all the way to 18, 19, 20 years old. I work with a couple college guys right now that were in JUCO, and we talk hitting every once in a while. What's crazy is when you talk with them, it's like a chess game. We're talking this, we're talking that. We're thinking this way, he's thinking that way. And then we just shoot ideas off each other. And by shooting ideas off each other, we're able to kind of figure out, what works for them, what is really working for you, what's your hitting DNA, and let's make it happen. So yeah, man, Deadly Hitting is something I started, I would say about 2 years ago, and it's been growing and growing. And I think, Wichita, my goal is eventually, in the next few years, hopefully take it a little bit bigger, own my own facility, have my own place, and continue to try and grow Wichita, into what I want it to be.
Let's stay on that a little bit, because I love you were talking about mindset and getting them in the proper mindset. as a former player and now as a coach, I hear a lot about, when you're going up to the plate, you can tell what a batter that's going up that has intent. And can you talk a little bit about how I know everyone's going to be different, but how do you walk a player through working on getting their intentions right when they're coming at bat to become that dangerous hitter? Like, what's the mindset you try to get them in, and then how do you get them into that mindset?
So in cage work, we do for cage work, I think really what I do is I challenge them. I challenge them really things that probably don't happen in their game. But the goal is if I can make it difficult for you in the cage and you can still make things happen in the cage, then when you go out to the ball field, it should be easy. It shouldn't be any harder than what I made it hard for you in the cage. So if we can do that, that builds confidence. So that's one. That's going to build that confidence. It's going to make them feel good about themselves. Because if I'm giving them some hard, intense drills and I'm really challenging the hitter, I'm really forcing them to use their body correctly, really forcing them to see velocity, off speed, and I'm challenging them. Then when they get out to the field, they're like, oh man, Coach Danny has me doing some crazy stuff. This kid ain't throwing nothing. This is a piece of cake. I'm confident. As soon as you build that confidence, that's when really the dangerous stuff begins. Because then it's like, it's relaxed. It's like you're in a relaxed, calm state. Nothing's going to faze you. Nothing's going to bother you. When you get out, the goal is when you get out, you get out. It happens. So what? Deal with it. Next time, you ain't going to beat me. I'm going to beat you. And that's kind of how you have to be as a hitter, is you have to be deadly. You have to have that confident mindset. You have to be dangerous. And playing that part and being able to kind of trick your mind into that part and into that mindset, it's going to personify off you. It's going to emulate that type of feeling. So when you go up to the plate, hopefully, and the goal is that pitcher doesn't want to pitch to you. He's too dang scared to pitch to you. And he's like, oh my gosh, I see this dude coming up. This dude is ready to smash. First swing, throws right down the middle. He just missed it. I don't think I want to throw it there again. I'm too scared. What do I do? That's when you know that your hitter is doing his thing. That's when you know that hitter is in the zone. That hitter is dangerous. When the pitcher is too dang scared to even want to compete with you. So if we can get that confidence, if we can get the hitter to really, really feel and understand that game time is nothing. It's easy. It's slow motion. This is easy. I control it. This is mine. That good things are going to happen.
I love what you say there about challenging your hitters in the cage or at practice, because I think so many coaches try to make their kids feel so good and they're just doing a little front toss or they're just taking swings off the tee and they're not really giving, they're giving the kids a workout, but they're not challenging them to get to another level. I mean, I love what you're saying there and what you're doing, because I think that's really important. And, it happens with some tournaments. Teams sign up for B level when they should be A level and they don't want to lose. Like, I think it just goes kind of across the board. So you challenging your guys in your controlled environment makes getting into the batter's box easy. That's fantastic.
100%. And well, if you think about it this way too. If you wanted to be, so, your podcast is a business, it's something you're trying to grow, something you want to be one of the best baseball, softball, business podcasts, whatever your category is, you want to be the best at that. If you went into that business and you went into that just thinking, oh, I just want to be, mediocre or whatever, you kind of have that like iffy, hold back kind of mindset and you're kind of just half in, half out. If that's kind of what you did, do you think you can become the best podcast out there?
Right.
No, right? And the same as a ball player. If I come into the ball field and I come in really just kind of being half there, half not, I'm a little nervous. I'm really not sure if I belong here. Can you trick your mind into being the best baseball or softball player that you can be? No, you can't. If you can build that outside and you can really, challenge that hitter, you accomplish against your challenges, then you tell yourself, I am the best hitter out there over and over and over again. The more you think about it, the more it becomes your focus and the more things you do and actions you do to make that actually happen. Now, not only are you getting closer to becoming the best hitter, you may be the best hitter there. And now when you go up to the plate or you play your game, or now you're at your defensive player of the year, now these things are showing. It's like, man, what did you do? You literally just, you talked about it. You thought about it, you tricked yourself into it, or you personified it, and now that is you. So if you shoot yourself short, you really can't be the best. But when you try and shoot yourself way up top and you want to be the best, well, now you're going to start taking actions to make that actually happen. When you sell yourself short, it's really hard for somebody to really get to that point where now you're the best. You have to fight through a lot of different things to really make that happen. But like I said, man, mindset, if you can be that, a lot of good things are going to happen.
So what are you doing in the cage in the facility? You know, are you using what are some of the tools you're using? Are you using weighted balls? Are you using any swing trackers? Are you using overload, underload bats? Or what are some of the things you like to use and do to help your players get better?
So we do. So I wish I had some of the like hit tracks and blast motion and I think another one is Rapsodo. I wish I had some of those, but unfortunately, I just don't have the funds to really go and dive in and invest in some of those things. So actually, blast motion is something I want to use here pretty soon. So I'm hoping to have that for both my baseball and my softball players. But really, what we're using is I'll sometimes get a heavy bat for them, put a little bit of weight on it, and then we also take weight off. I use heavy balls. Heavy balls have been really good for my hitters. I also use PVC pipe. PVC pipe is something I've been using for years to really work body movements and, really understand what the body's doing with the PVC pipe, especially when you use a PVC pipe and you throw the golf ball size wiffle balls and you challenge your hitter to try and hit those with the PVC pipe. Oh man, crazy things are going to happen. So that's something I really love to do with my hitters to challenge them. That's one of the things we do. It's fun, it's challenging, and when they see that they hit a little bitty ball with a really skinny PVC pipe, then they're going to be like, oh man, when I see this baseball or this softball, this is going to be easy. So I use that a lot. I also use not weighted bands, the resistant bands. I use resistant bands for certain aspects. I also use Jaeger bands. Jaeger bands are really good because I can strap it onto certain, your wrist, but most of the time I use the Jaeger bands for hitters on their back leg. Really drive that back hip, really forces them to stay on their backside and not trip forward so much. So I noticed that, and that was something I was testing out myself and messing around with. And I noticed I liked it, so I was like, let's try it out with some hitters, and it's been working. So if you think about a lot of things I do, I promise you I don't do without testing it first. So if there's any new drill I decide to do, I want to do it first because I want to see what is this really accomplishing, what is this doing for me that I feel, that I understand, and that I can emulate to my hitters. So anything I do with my hitters, I always do first. I always work it out. I always try it out and see how it goes, and then if it's something that may work, I'll test it out with them, and if it doesn't work, okay, throw it away. Let's move on to the next one. So there's a lot of different drills, a lot of different tools. But hopefully in the next year or so, I'll be having hit tracks, Rapsodo, some of those things. But really not doing too crazy, nothing too much.
Now, I saw in a recent post you're going to be rolling out a program called School of Athletes. Can you tell us what that will consist of and when that'll be coming out?
Yeah, so the School of Athletes, I'm hoping to have something either at the end of this month or next month. The goal was to have it at the beginning of this month, but we have a little hiccups here and there, and I'm trying to figure out the right software to throw a webinar where I can get 20, 30, 40 guys and girls onto, and even coaches too, onto a Zoom webinar. And really, I think that's kind of what we want to use, and really collaborate with these hitters, collaborate with other coaches, and to get these guys and girls in the same room with these great coaches, and to pretty much sell like what I'm selling to you guys right now: the mindset, the hitting questions, the fielding questions. What can I do as an athlete to make myself better? What are things I can do after the game is over? What are some things I can do now as an athlete to make money, or to do this or to do that? Our goal is to really really give as much advice for free. This is all free. This ain't nothing they have to pay for. This ain't nothing that they have to really do anything crazy. The only thing they have to do is participate in some posts, put their name out there. We'll put you in a hat. We'll get you in a drawing, and we'll try and do this at least once or twice a month, where we get you on a call, on a webinar with a group of girls and guys, coaches. And then even then, maybe at some point in time, we'll do it where you get to talk individually with like Fuller Hitting or like Ariel Polanco or Calix Crable or, all these other guys and coaches and, that they can really talk to and dive into that maybe they don't have the ability to train with them in person. Well, shoot, let's see if you can pick their brain over the phone and pick their brain over the meeting and, really dive in and dive deep, ask good questions, learn, take notes, figure out what you can do to up your game, try and get to that elite status.
That is awesome. The power of social media and technology can drive a long way, even if kids don't have all that money for private lessons and those fancy facilities to go to. So that's fantastic. I hope people can get involved and jump in on that.
Yeah, and let us know. We'll blow it up. We'll
put
promote
it
for sure.
Awesome, man. I appreciate that. Yeah, definitely. I'll let you guys know when we get more details on what we're trying to accomplish, and I'll send it your way.
Awesome. What would you say some of your goals are in the next 3 to 5 years? I know you said you'd like to, get a facility maybe or something like that. But what are some of the things what are some of the other things you'd like to accomplish in the next 3 to 5 years?
Do you have to be sports, baseball in specific, or just in general, just kind of what I'm doing?
In general, man, anything you want.
Okay. So yeah, definitely, a baseball facility would be nice. I'm hoping to work with a college, a university here in town that they don't have an indoor facility. So maybe they'd like to kind of jump in on a deal and, maybe make it their home facility. So they have a place to come, to work out during the wintertime and during those days when it's really rainy outside and they can't get on the field. So I'm hoping to work out a deal with the university here in the next few months and see if we can make that happen. I'm also, I dive into a little bit of real estate as well. I have a real estate business with a couple partners. We buy homes, invest in properties, and then we rent them out to people. So I actually made a deal with the university I'm trying to make a deal with now, to where I get cheap housing. It helps as an athlete to have a place to live, and especially on-campus housing can be pretty expensive, and kind of dives into your loans or to your money that you have to spend. You spend maybe $8,000 a year, $9,000 a year on living on campus, when maybe you can spend $2,000 or $3,000 a year, rooming with one of your teammates in a house. So we worked out a deal where baseball and softball will try and work with us and get some cheap housing off campus, so that way they can, hopefully live a little cheaper and not dive into so much debt in case there is that opportunity to take away. So I'm in real estate, and then also baseball and softball. And then I have my normal job that I work, 8 to 5 that, provides me for me and my family. So yeah, right, that's probably the next 5 or so years that hopefully that little empire can start to grow. And I'm always moving. I'm always on my feet. I'm always trying to find the next deal. I love business. I love working, and I like to stay moving. I think that's the athlete in me. I hate sitting still.
Right.
And unfortunately, I have a job that makes me sit still from like 8 to 5. But when I'm out of there, I'm out of there. I'm ready to go. I'm ready to move.
That's awesome, man. Yeah, it doesn't hurt to stay busy. That's for sure. Now, was there anything that we didn't bring up that you want to touch on that you have coming up, or is there anything, like any last words of wisdom you want to throw out at the listeners, the young listeners that are listening, or coaches, parents?
I think as for advice and as for something to think about, I think kind of like I mentioned earlier is, as a person, again, how one handles failure really says a lot about you. So when you fail at work, if you get fired, if you get laid off, if you had a project you were supposed to work on and you didn't get it done, if you were supposed to take a test as a student and you failed your test, if you were trying to get, start as a starting shortstop or second baseman in high school or in college, and that didn't happen. You got to remember, people are watching. Someone's always seeing what you're doing, and when you work hard, it will, things will happen. Good things will come. When you keep your head down and you let your actions speak for yourself, good things are going to happen. So, handle failure correctly, handle it in the right way, and good things will happen. Those type of people who handle failure that way are just different type of beasts and different type of animals, and you want to be that. You don't want to be the person that lets failure keep you down and drive you into a hole that you can't get out from. So that's definitely something I live by, and I think other people should try and kind of emulate themselves. And if you can do that, I really don't see how you can be unsuccessful.
Now let's just piggyback off that a little bit. And here's a question we like to ask a lot: if you could go back and tell your teenage self anything, what would you tell yourself?
That's a good question. I think what I would tell myself is, when someone tells you no, don't take no for an answer. Do whatever you can to change their mind. Because I think a couple times I had no given to me and I didn't know how to handle it. And now I do. Now I know what to do. So I think if someone tells you no, don't take no for the answer. Do whatever you can to try and change their mind.
Right on. Love it. That's good words of wisdom right there. And we'd love to ask this question as well, because our podcast is all about connecting people with other people and hearing different stories, because every single person we've had on here, their story, although some of it might be similar, there's always a different path, and no path is ever exactly the same. With that being said, if you could recommend anybody to come onto this show, talk baseball with us, talk mindset, talk softball, it could be anything, who would that person be?
I would say my guy, Ariel Polanco. I don't know if you guys have reached out to him or talked to him. He's known as on Instagram, working with Polanco. He recently just had a boy that he worked with for a very long time, kind of built him up. Nasim Nunez just got drafted, second round, 23rd pick for the Florida Marlins. And Ariel Polanco, definitely has a lot of guys he's building, he's growing, and he's getting guys to the next level. He's doing things that, I'm hoping to be at some point. So if anybody you need to talk to and you want to get on the show and you want to hear his story is incredible. His backstory is crazy. It's intense to think about where he's at now. It's a story that you feel like you can overcome anything if compared to what he's gone through. So
excellent.
I think if anything, you want to talk to Ariel Polanco.
All right.
Yeah, I'll say we've been following him for a long time. I mean, he's a lot of energy. That's for sure. He's really
definitely.
He really gets it going. He's a lot of fun. At least it seems like it. From social media. So definitely got to reach out to him and make that happen. Daniel, it's been fun. This has been great. We're winding down here. If our listeners love what they're hearing, where can they find you at? Whether plug your social media sites or whatever, email, however people can get a hold of you if they want to get more information on the upcoming webinar and other stuff.
Yeah, you can check me out on Instagram, Daniel_Deadly Hitting. If you want to check me out on Facebook, just check out Deadly Hitting Facebook page. Twitter is just Daniel_Aleman. Really on Twitter, I'm a little slow on the Twitter side. I need to get back on my game.
Too.
My high school kids are telling me I need to get on my Twitter game. So I'm trying to get back on that. But yeah, Instagram, Facebook, and you can find me there. If you guys want to schedule some lessons, hit me up. I'm always down to work.
Right on, man. Awesome. Well, we have one more question for you. Before I ask you this question, I'm going to give a little love to one of our partners here at the Going Yard podcast. This one is brought to you by Swing Tracker by Diamond Kinetics. The Swing Tracker is the most precise and complete swing analysis and developmental tool available today. Whether you are a player, a parent, or a coach, you will find a wide range of resources to help you achieve your goals. The Swing Tracker has dedicated iOS apps for both baseball and softball. Just go to diamondkinetics.com and enter the promo code GYP10. You can get 10% off of your order. So, Daniel, by the way, I like your name.
Thank you.
If you had one at bat in the major leagues, possibly for the Cubs, what song would you choose as your walk-up song to the plate?
Oh, you got to choose Danza Duro. Danza Duro, get you dancing, get you moving, get you going, get you excited, and also relax you at the same time.
Right on. That is definitely a song that no one has picked before. And I guess we're going to find out here shortly to see why you picked that one, because it sounds pretty grooving. Here we go.
Awesome.
All right.
Taking us out for the night here on this song, buddy.
Awesome, man. Well, Daniel, we really appreciate it. Taking the time, talking with us. We've been looking forward to this for a while. We wish you the best of luck, and we're going to keep following up with you. And, we'll have you on down the road as well. And hope you get things worked out with that facility. That'd be awesome.
Thank you, man. I appreciate you guys having me. Always it's awesome talking with you guys. Love you guys' stuff, and keep it going.
You too, man. Keep doing what you're doing. Keep grinding. Keep paving the way, and keep showing kids what hard work really does, and all that, because it's fantastic. Love it, man. Thanks for joining us and talking to our listeners.
Thanks, man. Talk to you guys later.
All right. See ya. That is awesome. That song, I mean, I'm moving. I'm moving right now.
It stinks that we're sitting down kind of.
I know.
I mean, I could definitely get up and get moving. That's a good choice. Appreciate that one.
Yeah, I love that episode. He's definitely a good guy to listen to. Very inspiring.
And speaking of that, for all of you who love the walkout song, because that's been our thing since day one.
Good
the
segue.
Walkout song. We just posted up on Spotify. You can go on to check it out. It's on our Instagram. We just put up the themes for the month of May. And I also uploaded April as well. So the past 2 months, it's a playlist of all the songs that all the guests, it's not us picking them. But I think maybe I'm going to talk to Dan. Maybe we'll pick a song of the month, each of us, and add to that list as well.
Yeah, that'd be cool.
But go in there and check it out if you're a fan of the walkout song, which I think a lot of you are, because I know we get a lot of feedback sometimes on that.
Heck yeah. All right. Well, as always, you can find us on all things social media at Going Yard Podcast and on Twitter at GY Podcast. And also, if you like what we're doing week in and week out on our softball or our baseball episodes, and you'd like to be a part of it and contribute, We would greatly appreciate that. Just go to patreon.com/goingyardpodcast. You can find out the different ways to help us out. Sorry about that. I got a little tongue-tied there.
Nah, it's all right. Long interview. You can find all of those social media sites and the Patreon page on our website, goingyardpodcast.com. You can also find all the affiliate links to our sponsors and the discount code. You can find all of the places to download this and listen to it on a weekly basis on iTunes, SoundCloud, Podbean, Google Play, and on YouTube. Make sure you like and subscribe. Leave us a 5-star review so we can climb those podcast rankings.
That's right. That's a wrap for this episode of the Going Yard Podcast. So for Daniel Aleman and Deadly Hitting and all of us here at the Going Yard Podcast, I'm Dan.
And I'm Tyler. See ya.
Later.